walk with a limp, yeah. That pistol on my hip, I got it. I walk with a limp, yeah. That big old money grip, I got it. I walk with a limp, yeah. That pistol on my hip, I got it. I walk with a limp, yeah. That big old money grip, I got it. I walk with a limp.
Just a pimp with a limp. And that's exactly why when you were watching the Kardashians, you'll notice that Scott, who wants to be wealthy and successful and respected, goes out and buys the walking cane so that he can be a pimp with a limp. And when you're drunk and you think you're a pimp, you get what's known as the drunk lean. You're just leaning with it. So once again, we have the swagger stagger, or the limp, of leaning with it, which is why they just want you to lean with it.
Lean with it, wow, lean with it, wow, lean with it, wow, lean with it.
And it's probably the hidden symbolism of why the Leaning Tower of Pisa is so popular. And of course, they want you to walk with a limp.
So I need for y'all to do for me is stick your swag out, put your arm down low, and swing with it. Come on. My pocket's so big, gotta walk with a limp. My shoes so cold, gotta walk with a limp. My fit so fresh, gotta walk with a limp. Walk with a limp.
So the walking cane is the ancient symbol of not only wisdom, but of God. And that's why he is a pimp with a limp. So perhaps now you will understand the significance and the importance of The Dark Knight Rises when you find that Batman is the character of the lamed one. He is the one who is injured and gets hurt, which is why he's a rich pimp with a limp.
You wouldn't beat up a woman any more than I would beat up a cripple. Of course, sometimes exceptions have to be made.
Defense Department projects.
So our character, Bruce Wayne, is the one that uses the symbol of the walking cane, the symbol of the crippled one, the symbol of the lamed one. So, we are faced with a huge crisis on the night of the Black Moon when James Holmes opened fire and killed people in a theater. So, once again, the Illuminati wants us to believe in the old lone gunman.
You got the typical lone nut assassin, and no conspiracy, nobody tied.
He wasn't particularly aided by anyone else.
Which is the exact same story of Lee Harvey Oswald, as well as Mark David Chapman, as well as Sirhan Bishara Sirhan. And then we come to the most recent lone gunman story, Osama bin Laden, as if a man from a cave is responsible for bringing down the world's most powerful country. Oh sure, supposedly there were other hijackers involved, but nobody knows their name. The only one they name over and over is Osama bin Laden.
Serial killers only have two names, you ever notice that? But lone gunman assassins, they always have three names. John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, Mark David Chapman. But lone gunman assassins, they always have three names. John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, Mark David Chapman.
So now we can add another one to the list. James Egan Holmes. To any sane person out there that is looking and watching the demeanor of James Holmes sitting here, you can tell without question that he is drugged up, or he is in some type of mind control. He is not acting normal whatsoever. And it was reported that James Holmes actually said, "Why am I here?" because he could not remember.
All the evidence we have, every single indicator is that this is all Mr. Holmes's activity, and that He wasn't particularly aided by anyone else.
He got a phone call, and most people, when they get phone calls in theaters, they go straight out into the lobby to answer it. This person went directly to the emergency exit to take his phone call, which I thought was unusual.
I know it seemed like he got a phone call. So he went out towards the emergency exit doorway, which I thought was unusual to take a phone call.
The hypnotist has embedded two key words in the man's subconscious: an on-word and an off-word. Trigger words that will be delivered over the telephone.
You know,
Hello?
Rosebud. Rosebud.
So, while James Holmes was in the movie theater, he did receive a phone call. But first, he saw this movie clip that you're about to see, called The Gangster Squad. And of course, Gangster Squad actually takes place inside of a movie theater, where there is a shootout. Shooting and killing inside of a movie theater, just before he does exactly the same thing.
Gangster. You just gotta put him down.
And of course, the film was released on September 7th, the 77. The sacred number of 7. The 7 equals G, which is the genitive God. So September 7th is reflecting the 77, which of course is found on 7/11, what we know as 9/11, where you'll find the sacred number of 7 everywhere you look on September 11. And don't forget the connection from James Holmes' assassination with 9/11, September 11, which is why the car shows the 119, which is the reverse symbolism of 9/11. And of course, all of the 911 symbolism we find in The Dark Knight Rises. And just like 9/11, there were training exercises that mimicked the actual event on the day of the event, just like September 11th. On the very same day of the massacre, a college in Colorado actually staged an identical exercise the very same day, in which students were trained how to react to a gunman firing at people in a movie theater. Oh, and before I forget, the movie Conspiracy Theory, you'll notice that they have the man in the wheelchair, the crippled one, or the lamed one. Remember, I was telling you that Conspiracy Theory came out way before September 11th, 2001, but the movie is full of 911 World Trade Center Twin Tower symbolism. The film actually mentioned the code name Geronimo.
I call it Geronimo.
Geronimo?
Yeah, Geronimo.
Remember that President Obama announced the death of bin Laden on May 1st, which was the day the Illuminati was formed? The operation was known as Project Geronimo. And as legend has it, Geronimo's skull is said to be at the Skull and Bones, and of course is related to Prescott Bush. And it's kind of strange that the grave of Geronimo is the symbol of the Illuminati. Project Geronimo was officially known as Operation Neptune Spear, but a Navy SEAL said the mission's code name was in fact called Geronimo. You see, Geronimo was an Apache Indian who defied the US government and eluded capture. And by the way, after Project Geronimo, the US buried bin Laden's body at sea within 24 hours after his death, so we will never have an autopsy and know the actual truth. And it's strange that conspiracy theory talks about Geronimo and wings and flying.
Love gives you wings. Makes you fly. I don't even call it love. I call it Geronimo.
Geronimo?
Yeah, Geronimo. See, when you're in love, you'll jump right from the top of the Empire State and you won't care. And screaming Geronimo the whole way down. Just great.
Yeah, but then you'll die. You'll squash yourself. So what's the point?
Hey, aren't you listening? I'm telling you, man, love gives you wings.
And speaking about the lone gunman and foreshadowing 911 before it happened, we have the film called The Lone Gunman of March 2001.
Yeah, I wound up in some government think tank's upload directory. Here's your scenarios, ladies.
These look like counterterrorism scenarios, war games developed for the Defense Department.
What's scenario 12D?
Airline terrorism? That doesn't make sense.
We know it's a war game scenario, that it has to do with airline counterterrorism. Why is that important enough to kill for?
Because it's no longer a game.
If some terrorist group wants to act out this scenario, why target you for assassination?
Depends on who your terrorists are.
The men who conceived of it in the first place. You're saying our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go. Indicting the entire government as usual. It's a faction. A small faction.
For what possible gain?
The Cold War's over, John. But with no clear enemy to stockpile against, the arms market's flat. But bring down a fully loaded 727 into the middle of New York City, and you'll find a dozen tin pot dictators all over the world just clamoring to take responsibility and begging to be smart-bombed.
I can't believe it. This is about increasing arms sales.
Mm-hmm.
When?
Tonight?
How are you going to stop them? Why didn't you tell the world this? Go to the press.
You think I'd still be drawing breath 30 minutes after I made that call? The press? Who's going to run this story?
We would.
This? This is birdcage liner. Wild-eyed crap right up there with Elvis as an alien and two-headed babies.
You obviously read it.
Don't be so damn naive.
Did you notice the code word birdcage?
This is birdcage liner. Wild-eyed crap right up there with... This is birdcage liner. Wild-eyed...
Interesting how they're discussing the Great Conspiracy with the Illuminati code word of birdcage. Like all of the thousands of little birdies that were inside of the cage on September 11th.
Assassination.
Depends on who your terrorists are.
The men who conceived of it in the first place. You're saying our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go.
You're saying our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go.
Did you catch it? The flight departs from Boston. And of course, Flight 11 departed from Boston on September 11th.
Autopilot access.
How are you going to do that?
Airline telemetry systems use processors similar to those found in CB radios.
I'm in. We got ourselves a convoy.
What's your progress?
I've hacked into the flight control system output.
With a little bit of help.
It's what the brains of the plane is telling the little black box.
Course, heading, attitude, hold, yaw, axis, stabilization. What the heck's that?
Is that what it looks like?
I think it is what it looks like.
What does what look like?
Modem protocols. Remote access. Somebody on the ground's flying your plane.
And of course, remote control airplanes or flying jets remotely from the ground is not a theory, but a fact 100%. The technology exists without question.
Byers, your flight's gonna make an unscheduled stop in exactly 22 minutes.
corner of Liberty and Washington. Lower Manhattan.
World Trade Center. We're going to crash the plane into the World Trade Center.